I am Shmuel. I'm going to try to give a Dvar Torah every week. I might miss a few weeks here and there, but I'll do my best. I'm going to give it a shot. In this week's Parsha, the Torah says that Bnei Israel wanted meat. As it says in the Pasuk, "V'asafsuf asher b'kirbo, hita'avu ta'ava, v'shavu v'evchu gam Bnei Israel, ve'amu, mi yachilenu basar." The Asafsuf had a craving and cried. Then the entire nation cried and said, "Who will give us meat?" Who is this Asafsuf? Rashi Ibn Ezra, the Kliyakar, and Unkelos all say that the Asafsuf were the people that joined Bnei Israel when they left Egypt, also known as the Erev Rav. The Kliyakar adds that the Bnei Israel had stopped complaining before this episode, because when they complained before, a fire came out and consumed part of the camp. However, the Asafsuf did not learn their lesson and complained even more. They then got the Bnei Israel to complain again and asked for meat, despite what had happened before. The nation continues complaining. "We remember the free fish that we had in Egypt. Now our life is terrible with this manna." So Moshe cries to Hashem, "Why did you put this burden upon me? Why did you tell me to lead them? Please help me with this nation. I don't have any meat to give them." Hashem replied to Moshe, "I shall anoint 70 leaders that will help you with these people. And tell the Bnei Israel that tomorrow they will eat meat. Not for 1 day, nor for 2. Rather for a whole month. The meat will be overwhelming, and as a result, it will be unbearable. All because they rejected Hashem." Moshe replied to Hashem, "There are 6,000 of them. If you slaughter all the sheep and the cattle, there won't be enough. Even if we take all the fish in the sea, it won't be enough. There's just not enough meat around. Not enough fish, not enough meat." Hashem replied to Moshe, "Is God limited? Now we'll see if my words come true." As the verse says, "Atzor v'abakar yishachet lahem, u'matzu lahem, im et kol dagei hayam yasef lahem, u'matzu lahem, vayomer Hashem el Moshe, hayad Hashem tiktzar, ata tireh ki yikriv devarai im lo." I have a question on this story. How can a nation who saw so much, they saw Kriyat Yam Suf, the 10 plagues, they saw the Kriyat Yam Suf, 10 plagues, Har Sinai, how can they possibly say that it was better in Egypt? They're mad at Hashem for taking them out of Egypt and giving them manna instead of me. Maybe if you really want me, maybe go to Hashem and say, "Hashem, please give me some. We'd like some meat." But they start crying, "Who's going to give me meat?" Well, how could that possibly happen? It's not like they don't know what happens when God get angry. They remember what happened during Chet HaEgel, that Hashem wanted to destroy the entire nation. And they recently had a fire that consumed part of the camp because they're complaining. How can the Bnei Israel just complain in such an uncivilized manner after all they've been through? Rashi says that the nation was complaining about the mitzvot. They said that in Egypt they eat for free, as in free from the mitzvot. According to Rashi, it makes sense why they complained even after they believed in God. They were complaining that all the mitzvot they had to keep were just so hard and overwhelming. Their complaints didn't come from a lack of belief in God. Rather, it came from a part of them that said, "We're fed up. We can't take this anymore." I have a different answer, however. When someone starts to complain, you start to listen to what they're saying. Sometimes you start believing them and you start to worry about it too. For example, last week was Parshat Naso, the longest parsha in the Torah. Everyone is frantic when it comes to Parshat Naso. They make a big deal out of it. Davi's going to take forever. What if it's a slow laner? What am I going to do while he's laning for 5 hours? However, Shachar came and passed, and everyone survived. It wasn't as long and terrible as it was thought to be. So here, the Bnei Israel heard what the Asafsuf were saying and got nervous. What were the Asafsuf saying? The Bahalotecha says that the nation had plenty of animals. However, everyone complained because they said that they weren't going to be able to bring their animals to Israel. Why wouldn't they be able to bring their animals to Israel? Because they thought that they were going to cross the Jordan and fight the Canaanites. Therefore they said, "Who will feed us meat? We can't bring our animals with us if we're going to war." It could be understood that the Asafsuf put this idea in their minds, that there's not going to be any way for them to have any meat once they cross the Jordan. This caused the Jews to freak out and have a panic attack, and that's the reason they acted this way. It's because the Asafsuf planted in their mind they're not going to be able to have any meat in the future. Therefore, they freaked out and they started complaining and crying. I have another question. After Hashem told Moshe that he was going to give the nation excessive amount of meat, Moshe said, how are you going to supply enough meat for this massive nation? As the verse says, "Hatzon v'abakar yishachet lahem umatzah lahem, im et kol dagei hayam yasef lahem umatzah lahem." If we slaughter the sheep and the cattle, will it be enough for them? And if you gather up all the fish in the sea, will it be enough for them? This pasuk clearly shows that Moshe doesn't believe that Hashem is able to feed the Bnei Yisrael meat. Moshe doesn't believe in Hashem's capabilities. How is it possible that someone who spoke to Hashem, went up on Mount Sinai, took the Jews out of Egypt, can say something like this? It's even proven that that's what Moshe meant, based on Hashem's reply. Is God limited? Hayad Hashem tiktzav? Rashi answers as follows. He says that Rabbi Akiva said that Moshe actually doubted Hashem. Rabbi Akiva also added that had Moshe done this in public, it would have been the cause for him not being allowed to enter Israel. But since he wasn't in public, that wasn't the reason he wasn't allowed to enter Israel. The reason he wasn't allowed to enter Israel was because the nation was complaining for water, and Hashem told him, go get water for the nation. And he said, go speak to the rock. Moshe went to the rock. Instead of speaking to the rock, he hit the rock. Therefore, Moshe was not allowed to go into Israel. However, Rabbi Shimon says that we shouldn't dare say something bad about Moshe Rabbeinu. Rather, Moshe was saying, we're 600,000 people, Hashem. You said that you're going to give meat for a month and then kill them? You're going to kill such a massive nation? Will killing them honor the name of Hashem? And God didn't answer, you think I can't? Rather, if I don't, the Jews will think that I can't. So I must give them meat. It's better that some of them perish than I think that my power is limited. The Orach Chaim says that the Jews had enough cattle to suffice them even without any miracles. So why did Moshe even ask that question? The Orach Chaim answers that when Hashem said that he'd give them meat, Moshe assumed that Hashem meant one type of meat. So Moshe said, there are 6,000 of them. You're going to give them one type of meat. They're always going to want something else. Let's say you give them steak. So then a few people say, no, I don't want steak, I want sheep. I don't like steak. Then some people say, what, sheep? No, I want deer, right? So it's just not going to work out. How are you going to do that? Moshe didn't ask, how are you going to give them? He asked, how are you going to give them one kind of meat? They're not all going to like it. They're just going to want something else. He didn't question Hashem. He just wanted to understand how Hashem was planning on making everyone happy with just one type of meat. It was basically a misunderstanding. And Moshe didn't mean to say, how are you going to provide them meat? The Kliyar Kar says that Moshe said, even if you give them all the meat in the world, they will always find something else to complain about. Moshe was telling Hashem, it's not worth it to give them meat. They're just going to complain about something else. You're never going to satisfy them. And Kliyar Kar gives another answer. He says that Moshe was worried because he can't find fish and meat in the desert. So if Hashem were to give the Bnei Yisrael meat, it would be a very large miracle. Okay, and why would Hashem give a large miracle? Because they were complaining, meaning he's mad at you. So it would have been a bigger punishment that Hashem would have given them for complaining. It's basically like if you're complaining to your father that you really want ice cream, right? Now there's not ice cream for another 5 miles. So your father drives out 5 miles, and he goes and buys you an ice cream cone, the most expensive one, and he comes back, and then the kid's happy, but the father's really angry at the kid for making him go through all that. So it would be a bigger punishment for the kid. So Moshe basically asked Hashem for the Jews' sake. It's just not worth it for you to give it to them, so that they won't get a punishment for their complaining.